Yeah.
Welcome to the Sales Titans podcast, the show where we break down the strategies and secrets of top performing sales professionals. I'm your host, Carlos Iborra, founder at Sales Titans Agency. Our guest today is Aubrey Washington. If you looked up the words tone and confidence in a cold calling dictionary, you will find Aubrey. And he demonstrates this in his post. If you are not already following him, I highly recommend you do. So, welcome, Aubrey. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Carlos. It's a pleasure to be here speaking with you. I appreciate the invitation.
Thank you. So, Aubrey, tell us a little bit about you. How did you first get into sales and specifically cold calling?
That's a great question. So, like many people, salespeople, it wasn't my intention to get into sales at all. I had no idea about sales or selling or what it was or absolutely anything like that. So, I was actually I live in Mexico. I've been here for close to 20 years. And when I arrived, I trained or retrained to be a teacher, to be an English teacher. So I retrained, um, and I was working, pretty much happily as an English teacher in secondary school, middle school. So like 13, 14-year-olds I was teaching. And I guess I was coming to that point in my career where I was looking for a kind of maybe a change, and I didn't know what that change was at all. I thought that it was in teaching. So, one day um, the coordinator said, it was close to the end of the school year. She said, we're going to get some new books. I'm like, I don't want new books. Or the team was like, we don't want new books. Like that means we need to plan and we need to retrain and everything's going to change for us for the next school year. She's like, it's time to get new books. So we decided on a book or a program, I should say, and a, a trainer came into the school to train us on the platform. So it had a digital platform that was kind of complicated. They came in, they trained us on the platform. Well, they didn't really train us. What they did was they started talking about teacher methodology and all this kind of stuff that didn't really have anything to do with the platform. And kind of we're sat there as teachers thinking we don't need this. Like we need to know how to use the platform with the children, and she's telling us how to be better teachers and so on, and how to structure a class. And I was thinking to myself, I think I can do a better job than what she's doing. And I started to look around for English consultant. That was the title she had, English consultant. And I found a job advertisement for an English consultant, and I applied to it, and I had the interview, and I ended up getting the job. I'm not going to say which company it was. I mean, if you follow me on LinkedIn, you can look at LinkedIn and see. And I got the job, and went to the head office. There was like a cohort of other people that they hired. They gave us laptops, telephones, cars, territory,
Wow.
training on the books, on the methodology. And it's a big company. I think it's the second biggest one in the space. And there you go away and do whatever you. I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to do? Didn't re- and I remember the first task I was given was Salesforce and everything. So the first task I was given was to go around to schools in my territory and invite them to a seminar that we're having. So I'm a field sales rep basically. So in
Hmm.
person. So go around and visit and invite them to this seminar. So I was doing that, and I didn't really understand what the real purpose was. Like I was dropping off these kind of like flyers at the reception, and I'm thinking, why am I doing this? And and I thought I was just going to be a training schools that were using our books, our program on the platform, on the methodology, how to work with them, support them in their needs. And so I was kind of like perplexed after the first week of being on my own. And I remember calling somebody that I met, a new hire, and I called him and he said, "You're supposed to be selling." And I'm like, Selling what? How?" Like, they never said anything about selling. Yeah, you're supposed to be selling. So I went to my, I was like, oh, I made a big mistake here. I called my supervisor because we have an area supervisor and he was local. I met with him and he's like, yeah, when you're dropping off these, flyers, try and get appointments. Appointments for what?
You had to discover by yourself everything.
And they were they were flying us out to the head office, which is in Mexico City. They would give us training, and I was there for like 3 or 4 years, and it wasn't until probably 6, 7, 8 months into it, I realized that I'm a salesperson and there has to be, just like there's a teaching methodology, there has to be a sales methodology. Like salespeople can't just be figuring it out. They can't be winging it. And so obviously, I went on the internet and I started looking and typing in sales methodology, and I started seeing, obviously the first people you see is like Grant Cardone and people like that, um, and just other random content creators, and from there I didn't really pick up a methodology, but I started picking up bits and pieces to help me, and it was mainly with closing. So that's what everybody focuses on, how to be a better closer. And then I started to see improvements. And it's like, wow, there must be something to this. And I started to enjoy it more. And I started to win accounts and to break into bigger accounts. And I still hadn't figured it out. And I still didn't have a grasp of sales really. And then the pandemic hit. And um, it was like, well, what are we going to do now? Because it's in person. Everything's in person. Everything's field. I had like 3 states here in Mexico, 3 big states to cover. And um, it was just synchronicity. Like it was almost like the day of the pandemic, or like it all got like ended to go out in the field, like you're staying at home. I remember The Wolf of Wall Street came on TV, and I'd heard of it, but I'd never watched it. I didn't even know what it was really about, and I just watched it. I thought I'm just gonna watch it, and obviously it's telephone sales, and I'm like, wow, you can sell on the telephone. Didn't even know that. And and then I was like, is this real? Is this guy real? And I Googled Jordan Belfort and his straight line persuasion came
Hmm.
up. I signed up for his course, like literally there and then. And at that point, he was giving like live webinars and stuff to everybody, and he had like everything was available. And I used it all and created a script, and I became like the top seller
Wow.
throughout the pandemic. I was like literally the only person that would pick up the telephone and call and sell on the telephone. And I remember they created a dedicated team to telephone sales. I kind of headed it. Trying to, I mean, I'm a very quiet person. I don't like to give sales advice, and if you see on LinkedIn, I don't really like to do that. There's enough of it out there, but they were trying to get me to train and stuff like that, the teams, and I was like, if they don't want to pick up the telephone, they're not going to pick up the telephone. It's the same now, right? If you're an SDR or a BDR or an account executive, if you don't like to pick up the telephone, you're not going to pick up the telephone and make outbound calls. So thinking back from then to now, nothing's really changed. It doesn't matter if it was a pandemic or, if we're in full flight as we are now, it makes no difference. But I truly believe if you can pick up the telephone as a salesperson, regardless of what your title is, and make outbound calls, cold calls, following up with if you're lucky enough to get leads, inbound leads as well. if you're very proactive in that approach, then it'll give you a lot more opportunity to be successful. And
I agree.
there's frameworks to help you, right, Carlos, to do that as well.
Exactly, exactly. This is a very, very inspiring story, Aubrey. In fact, the famous sentence of Steve Jobs saying, "Connect the dots." This is what you just have done, right? You just connected all the dots to see and to understand where you are today, right? And it's curious because maybe for this job that you have applied that turn up into a sales position, maybe if you knew that it was for sales, maybe you wouldn't have applied at that stage of your life. And just for being there, you are now at this position, right?
You're 100%
Uh,
correct. I always say that. You're 100% right, Carlos. And I always think to myself now, and you can always look back, nothing you can do about it. But I do give advice to my son, my children, my wife as well. Anybody that I can is close to me. I always say, learn sales. But I always think back, if I knew truly when I was at school, like if I was 14, 15, 16, 17, what sales was, is, or could be, how it can help you, I would have got into it sooner, right away.
Good point.
That would have been my career. Leaving school, I said I want to be a salesperson in whether it's selling cars, whether it's, selling homes, insurance, something, I would have probably studied something like the Sandler method and then gone on to start selling and yeah, absolutely.
And let's give some context to this because I, I guess that we are aligned on this is that what sales give you, no one can take away from you. The skills, the personal growth, the professional growth as well. It's something that is intrinsically related to the sales job, and I see it as a uh, move going forward in your personal growth, right? But it is true what you have said, Aubrey, that you have to be psychologically ready for that as well, right? If you don't want to pick up the phone, even if I tell you the best advice in the world for your sales cycle, nothing's gonna happen, right? I can recall this when I had 7 or 8 years old, and when I was with my family at home on Sunday evenings, my father always requested me to pick up the phone to call to the pizza restaurant and to order the pizzas. Each time that he was telling me that, I was entering in panic mode. I was in a fear stage against the phone that if I extrapolate that to any other person in the world, if you never face the phones, it's the same feeling that you will be facing. It doesn't matter if you have 8, 20, or 30 years old, right? This is my assumption. And what you said is very, very interesting because all of us came by chance into sales, most of us, right? And I agree on you that I will be pushing my daughter to start as soon as possible on the field as well. So, and regarding cold calling, because at the end, sales, you can use several channels. But what I have learned is that, especially in B2B, okay, of course, B2C is another story. Today we are talking about B2B,
Mhm.
but being more present or generating connections, human connections with the counterparty is what makes things happen at the end, right? So I always put in the first place the in-person uh, presence to generate conversations with people. But in the second, in the next one is the cold call, and especially today when email marketing agencies are saturating the space, LinkedIn automations are saturating the space,
Mhm.
and what really makes the things moving forward, based on my experience, is the human connection that nowadays the phone is giving us, right? So was there a specific moment where cold calling clicked for you, Aubrey?
Clicked as in it started to work well.
Yeah, at the point that you said, okay, that's the way.
Yeah, again, I'll go back to Jordan Belfort. and I give him a lot of credit. A lot of people don't like him, but through the
It
way
was it was another time as well, right? I mean,
it was another
at that
time, yeah. And what he or the way he sold and kind of like the idea and the scamming and things like I'm taking that away from, I don't agree with that. My take or the way that I look at him is that he provided me a framework or a mindset, a way of thinking when I needed it, and nobody else did that or could offer that to me, and support as well. And I'm saying it kind of like generally, but we had sessions like this where you would join and he would answer your questions in person, and he gave a lot of value. And his framework of selling, I don't use it now at all. You kind of move on and you grow and evolve into different ways. But there's still points of it that are very helpful. He said something along the lines of once you start getting success on the telephone, then there's no turning back from that. There's no turning back from the telephone. What you can do over the telephone is you can't do it in any other way of selling, whether it's in person, whether it's sending emails, whether it's sending letters, or however you're prospecting. From a prospecting perspective, there's nothing beats the telephone because you can set appointments. Not only can you set appointments, but you can get feedback uh,
exactly.
from the market, from your customers or your potential customers. Um, Insights into what's happening in the industry, and you can do that very fast and very quickly. Uh,
I agree on that, Aubrey. I think that it's something that I always tell to my customers, which is the magic of cold calling, because I'm used to work with startups, SMEs, uh, and they're still figuring out things, right? They don't have all the answers to make things happen in their business sometimes. And the magic of cold calling is that you get a yes or you get insight from the market that helps you refine your strategy, your script, your message very fast. In just 1 week of cold calling, you can have enough info to pivot.
Absolutely.
I made a very big mistake 10 years ago when I started my first startup. I started creating the ideal product. It was a software as a service at that time for my potential customers. We spent months refining the project and the system. When we launched to the market, we realized that we were in the wrong timing. I could just, let's say, substitute those 3 months of software development by 10 calls.
Right.
What you mentioned about Jordan Belfort was very interesting because, of course, and also it's the case of a lot of motivational sellers which are on LinkedIn, for example, they are offering their own sales playbook. But it doesn't mean that it's going to work for you. But the basics, which is the framework, the discipline, the mindset, is what you have to extract from them and to make it ours based on your service. So I
Absolutely.
completely agree on that. Uh,
I think
Aubrey,
mindset is the biggest thing, right? So
mhm.
you have to go into it, and it depends on your position as well. There'll be entry level SDRs, BDRs watching this, more senior ones as well, people that want to get into it. And you're going to go into a role, you're in a role where you may have a manager depending on the organization, you'll have a supervisor of some form, and you might even have some kind of playbook that they ask you to follow, and that can be restrictive in many ways, um, for a salesperson, for an SDR. Um, But you kind of have to enter it with a mindset, okay, I'm going to be successful. I know it's going to be very difficult, but I'm going to find a way and resources, whether that's in my company or outside of my company, that's going to fit my style and my way of working, and that's going to help me succeed. And like you said, there's people on LinkedIn. You don't have to always follow the gurus. If you do enough searching and looking and following the right people, you'll pick up tips and tricks that you can add to your own playbook, and then you kind of build it out yourself. And then you'll be successful. You'll be successful.
Exactly, exactly. So talking about mindset, I think that we already mentioned that the mindset shift needed to excel at cold calling today is to be able to understand that you have to face it, that of course you will receive negative answers always, every single day, but you have to just understand that it's just part of the process in which you are going to get a ton of value from the negative answers. Coming back to what we were saying before, the magic of cold calling is that when you receive a no and you are in a phone call, you have the opportunity to at least ask why not. And this is where you start nurturing yourself. You start creating your sales playbook based on the counter arguments that you are facing to optimize it. Even at the best optimized script in the world, it's going to fail, but the odds of success will be increasing time by time, right? So let's go to the more practical side, Aubrey. Can we break down your top performing opening line and why you think that works?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's so many ways to open a call. Um, when somebody picks up the telephone, um, typically I like to go with some kind of permission-based opener.
Mhm.
Um, I'm just opening one here, and I still write scripts, by the way, even after this amount of time doing it, the amount of time that I've been doing it, I still write scripts, and I have my scripts up on the screen when I'm talking. I don't like to wing it because a script lets you measure
Mhm.
success, um, and you'll speak to different personas, and different personas in different industries react differently. If you're selling different products as well, different services, there's kind of scripts you want to avoid or talk tracks you want to avoid, or some that you might kind of want to go with. But regions as well. But I typically just like to, keep it simple. Somebody picks up the phone and they don't say their first name, I'll make sure that I'm speaking to Carlos. Hey, did I get Carlos by any chance? And you'll probably respond, who's calling? Or who is this? Or yeah, it's Carlos. And then I'll just say, hey, it's Aubrey with Active Parks. You're not expecting my call here. Did I catch you in half a minute, or is it a bad moment? Something like that. Um,
Mhm.
did I catch you with 30 seconds? You're not expecting my call here. Let you know why I'm reaching out. They're
I
all
think
very
that
similar.
I think that's the way you said it. There are different ways, okay, but distractor, it's I agree on that. And it is true that the experience gives you the answers. And at the end, when you are talking with someone which is a long time on cold calling, you see the same framework for opening, right? Which is just opening like a professional that is willing to speak with another professional to see in a confident way if there is any possibility to provide some value from our side, right? So I know that the phone service providers made a lot of damage into the market because of the cold calling. I was one of them. I have to recognize it. I was working for one of them like 10 years ago. It's another story for another day, but it's not the same saying, hello, my name is Carlos. I'm calling from X. Uh, I know that this is an unexpected call for you. I made my due diligence. That's why I decided to pick up the phone. do you mind if I take 30 seconds from your time to give you a bit of context of my call and the purpose of it? So you can reframe it as you wish.
Absolutely.
But for me, the most important thing is exactly what I was saying at the beginning, the tone and confidence, and not, let's say, being uh, tagged as an annoying salesperson, right? I remember my times working for phone service providers, like you had 3 seconds for the opening. In these 3 seconds, you have to say everything, like, hey, this is Carlos calling from X phone. Do you have one phone line at home or two? I'm calling you to help you improve your services. That was the way, right? And we made thousands of calls to random people, and that's why nowadays this is my way of doing it, okay? But if I don't see a clear match with the ICP, or and then the next level will be to be signal based. To make my call relevant, I don't pick up the phone. I don't call random people which is not related somehow to what I'm doing. Because for my services, for example, I could start calling all companies in the world.
Hmm.
But first, I want to protect my company reputation. And second, I want to prevent myself from burnout as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I want to generate conversations with people which at least could be interested in knowing about what my company or our customers are doing, basically. So,
Absolutely.
um,
And there's many ways to do that, right? So, um, one of the ways that I like to do that is and this is what makes the telephone very effective, is that you can quickly find your ICP or the ideal persona that you should be talking to. So if I'm selling a service um, that is kind of, well, I'll talk about a service that I used to sell. I used to sell a service for companies that would sell into the consumer space. So think about yeah, maybe telephone companies like you mentioned, or maybe insurance companies that have call centers. So they have lots of people to call, and it can be frustrating for the sales reps, making lots of dials and not having those conversations with people that have filled out forms looking for more information. Basically, the way that I do it is I'll go into a tool like Seamless, or you could use Zoom Info or Apollo. I'll look for the industry, and then I'll pull um, lists of persona-based job titles. So VP of marketing was one, or director of marketing, and then I would parse out the different industries. So whether it was, say, insurance, solar, banking, whatever that industry might be, and then I would start making calls based on those different industries and those different personas. And then you quickly start seeing who likes to pick up the telephone, who kind of gets the message that you're talking about. And then you can kind of pivot, make changes, make shifts, and then more focusing and target, exclude the ones that are not interested or don't need it, and then kind of go from there.
absolutely. Now that you are mentioning the tools, Aubrey, let me ask you something. What's one cheap tool you can't live without for prospecting?
I think it might be different for, so if you're working at a startup maybe, or you're bootstrapped, or you have a small lead gen company, you're making cold calls for businesses, it can vary, but I would say if you're a small team, like one or two SDRs, like all you need really, and you're outbounding, you've got no inbound leads, let's say we're talking about pure outbound calling, cold calling, all you need is some kind of data tool, whether that's I use Seamless, whether it's Apollo, Lucia, whatever, Zoom Info, um, a data tool, and a dialer. That's all you need. Whether that's a parallel dialer or a power dialer, some kind of dialer to get through the calls. That's all you need. And I'll give you my reasoning to that. You don't want to pull a list of a potential, let's say, pull a list of 1,000 people from a data tool and then upload that list into a CRM and not know who's a fit for your product or service, or whether they work at the company or they don't work at the company or whatever, without having a conversation first. Because all that does is that just clogs up your CRM and it makes it super complicated in the future for people outbounding or just going through your database and finding who's a fit, who's a not a fit, and then finally you're going to end up cleaning it out and it'll take forever. That's my perspective and my experience. It's way easier to download a list from a data tool on a CSV file, or Excel sheet, whatever you want to call it. Open up that CSV file, clean it to some extent, because there'll be things in there that you really don't want to see, as it always happens with a data tool. Um, they provide you with people that are out of your region, all sorts of stuff, but you have to go through, you clean it up, duplicates. So you might pull 200 people. Once you've cleaned it, you'll end up with like 150. That 150, you're just going to upload them into the dialer and start calling from the dialer. When somebody picks up and they say, yeah, I'm interested, then just manually upload that person into your CRM. Then you can task them from the CRM from that point on, or call them from the CRM from that point on. You've already had a conversation, you already know there's a good fit there, you booked a meeting or you scheduled a follow-up, whatever that might be, you know they're a good fit regardless. They can go into the CRM. But if somebody picks up and say, hey, I'm not interested, or that is absolutely not a fit for us, there's no point in having that person in the CRM. So all you do is you just delete them from the CSV file.
Hmm.
Next time you upload the CSV file, you don't call that person. The same with the person that you spoke with, delete them from the CSV file because you've now got them in your CRM. Next time you upload that file to call, you won't speak with them. Everything is done from the CRM then and there on with that person. That's my perspective.
I like it.
I would say a data tool and a dialer.
I like it. I think it's a very effective process. In fact, I will only add, if you could, some kind of integration, if it exists, between the tools to move the lead from one side to another.
Yeah.
But that's another story, okay? But yeah, it's very effective one. I like it.
If you're technical, I'm not technical. That's why I keep it so basic,
Yeah,
Carlos.
yeah,
I keep it
I
as
like it.
basic as possible. Yeah,
Okay, so let's do something. Let's do a kind of a round of punchy questions
let's
with
do it.
short answers. Okay. So which will be the biggest cold calling myth?
Overcoming objections.
Good one. Best book for sales professionals?
Um, that's a great question. For cold calling, I would say Justin Michael's book. I think it's called Algo. I can't remember what it's called. Justin Michael's Algo Calling, something like that. It is. Um, But I'm going to make a pivot. Look for somebody called Townsend Wardlaw on YouTube. Look for his cold calling videos. Townsend Wardlaw on YouTube. You'll find videos from like 11 years ago, 15 years ago on cold calling.
It's sales call algo, right? Sales call
Yes,
algo.
something like that. Justin
Cool.
Michaels. Yeah, you'll find him on LinkedIn, and if you type in Justin Michaels sales on the internet, you'll find his books. He's got a couple of good books
Nice.
for sales.
So great. Next question is calling at 10 a.m. or 3 p.m.?
Both.
Very great answer. Email before the call or not?
Doesn't matter. Just call.
Exactly. You're intruding, right? Anyway.
It doesn't
So
matter. Just call. Yeah.
one thing you will change about how people cold call?
Nothing. It's up to them how they do it. What works for them is great. If it's working, perfect. If it's not, then look to change. I don't know. Look,
Exactly.
if it's not working, then you need to mix it up. Look for something
Exactly.
different.
Exactly. A tip for those thinking of venturing into cold calling?
Do it.
Should we stop asking, how are you today?
No, because do you want me to give an
Go
explanation
ahead,
because I know these
please.
are short answers? No, because a lot of people do that and get great results with it. and a lot of people that pick up the phone, um, they respond to that. It's perfectly fine if that's working for
Hmm,
you, then go ahead and do it.
love it, love it. One hot question to end the round. Will AI replace cold callers?
In B2B, no. In B2C, maybe. At least to qualify in B2C, probably to qualify somebody, but it's not at the level yet to do it. So a long time before it can do it. And just as a caveat, I think it was Air AI. Don't quote me. They were recently sued in the USA by I think it was the TCPA, uh,
Mhm.
a governing body, because they they were promising they couldn't live up to their promises. What they were offering clients didn't work. The tool didn't work.
You're right. So, Aubrey, I enjoyed a lot this conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us. Hopefully, we can contribute our bit to all those cold callers who are trying to decipher the unknowns of their equation.
Yeah,
I want to thank you in a very special way, Aubrey. I will send you a present, which is the official helmet of Sales Titans.
I
Okay,
love
be
it.
ready for that.
Beautiful.
And yeah, that's all. Thank you so much, Aubrey. And for the audience, if you want to continue learning from the best in sales, don't forget to follow us on YouTube and LinkedIn. And also, if you are interested in outsourcing your cold calling efforts, visit our website, salestitans.agency. So that's all for this week. Until next time, and remember, sell or die. Thank you, Aubrey.
It was a pleasure, Carlos. I enjoyed it. Great.